Hello, this is Chapter 3, Part 2. We're going to talk a bit more about creating an EFE matrix, which is the external factor evaluation. This is a step which occurs after you have scanned your environment, you've looked at your external environment, and you have picked out some potential opportunities and threats. We're now going to dig deeper and we're going to see how important they are and apply weightings. Here we have some information from your text. Now look here, economic forces, social cultural, political legal, technological, competitive forces. Remember, that's what you're looking at in your external analysis and scan. Here are some of the tables that came from your book. Questions about competitors, ties here. Conditions that cause high rivalry among competing firms. It goes here, and this will also be critical to your CPM. Key social, cultural, demographic, and natural environment variables. Key economic, and also we can't forget technological forces are what is needed technologically to do this job well. It depends on the industry. It depends on the competition. So we've looked at that, which is really important. Now, how do we take all this external analysis stuff that we have gotten, our opportunities and our threats that hopefully we have used specific data with, and look at it further? In your text, you'll see this industry analysis, the external factor evaluation matrix. And in this matrix, you're going to list those key external factors that you identified. You're going to have total of 20 factors, which will be 10 opportunities and 10 threats. And we're doing this, of course, first on Pepsi. Then we'll be doing this on, obviously, you'll be doing this again with your case. You want to be as specific as possible using percentages, ratios, and numbers. Remember, we want to make sure that we're working on the big stuff and not the little stuff. Assign to each factor a weight that ranges from 0, not important, to 1, very important. Then assign a rating between 1 and 4 to each key external factor to indicate how effectively the firm's current strategies respond to the factor. Is the response, is it superior? Is it above average? Is it average? And is it poor? You need to give some thought to these conditions. Now let's take a look at a somewhat simplified example and see if we can figure out what type of information, what type of external factors that this 10 theater cinema complex is looking at. Rowan County is growing 8% annually in population. Well, obviously that's pretty important because anything that grows, your business or your opportunity is very important. And this would be demographic information. And notice we have it in a couple of places here from our external scan. 8% here, 6% at a university which is growing, and demand for going to cinema is growing by 10% annually. So those are some of the demographic things they've looked at. They also looked at, my goodness, we've got more opportunity with neighborhoods being developed, and economically things are doing pretty well. Disposable income has gone up, and the unemployment rate has gone down. And they felt that this was really important data, opportunities, and they applied rates. Now look where they're very strong. They're very strong with the university expansion. They're pretty strong on being able to respond to the 8% growth in Rowan County. But the demand for the cinema, now look at, all of a sudden we're going below the line. Above the line I call 3 and 4. Below the line, I got to do some work. 2 and 1. If I really want to capitalize on this demand, I'm going to have to do something. I'm not really quite ready to respond to that yet. And then on the threats, we see some other items. 1, social eating habits. What are we going to do with all that popcorn, that fatty stuff? Demand for online movies. That's technology, streaming. That's really, really helpful. And My goodness, commercial property adjacent to the cinema. What if somebody buys it and I can't expand to meet my demand? So that's a way of waiting and looking at things that are really, really important. How am I going to maximize my opportunities and mitigate my threats? How well am I responded? And of course, you see here, we've got a 1, and then the weighted score 2.58. Now I'm going to show you what this looks like on the template. When you're working with your template, you open and you put your information in the Start tab. See, this is the Start tab. You notice I'm using our Cineplex, our 10, what do they call it? A 10-theater cinema complex as an example. I started to type in the opportunities, just as you see them in the book. I entered the weights, and I entered the ratings. Now, you're going to finish this whole thing. I'm just going to show you what it looks like before it's finished. Let's click here, the EFE Matrix, and what do we see? We see the completed matrix. Then we are going to copy this, and paste it to, say, a Word document. And I did a link and I kept the source documentation, so here it is. You'll be able to save this and submit it for your assignment. That concludes part 2 and completing the external factor evaluation matrix.